Toys in the game, comic book collector, and investor. Welcome to the top 10 highest CGC comic book sold on eBay for the week of April 5th to April 11th, 2026. Coming number 10, we have Incredible Hulk issue 181. This have up the Mark Jewel insert, so a little bit more rare. First appearance of Wolverine. This one came in 1974, graded CC is 9.0. Final auction price was 8,400 with 79 bits. So let's go over to GPA. Over GPA here, 9.0. Most jewelry insert. Unfortunately, not too many data. I mean, this was the one that was just sold on eBay. But it doesn't have the most jewelry insert. Last sold price was 6,102. 90 average 6,525. This is the 12-month average. So you're looking at about almost $2,000 more for the insert there. And this is the 2025 average. And this is the 2024 average right here. Coming number 9, Incredible Hulk issue 181, grade CZ 9.0. This is the signature series. They got Sandy signature on it. And it's a yellow label right here. And this. Right there it is. I'm not quite sure you can see it though. And it's on, I believe it's on the Hulk chest there. Okay, so asking price was a little bit less than $10,000, but it sold for $8,700. So let's go over to GPA. Okay, GPA right here, 9.0, signed by Stanley. And let's go across right here. And then once again, not too many data. Only one was sold, and then 2 in 1 year. And then, so let's go down here. And this book sold high $10,350. So that's a drop of $1,650. And then let's go over here. The one that was sold for $10,350 was back in 2022. Tied for 7, we have 1961 Marvel Fantastic Four issue 1. First appearance of Fantastic Four, grade CC 4.5. This one got white pages. Sold for $9,000. I think that is an awesome deal. Let's take a look right here. The sale does have 100% positive feedback and 65 feedback total. So let's take a look. Let's book on Heritage. On Heritage, we have a 4.5 right here. And then this book sold as high as $36,000. So that's a drop of $27,000. This was back in January of 2022. Let's swing one over. We have now 4.5 right here. And this one sold for $24,000 back in June of 2021. Let's do one more here. One sold for $21,600 back in September 2022. Tied for 7, Action Comics issue 252, graded CZ 7.0. First appearance of Supergirl. This one came in 1959. Asking and sold price was $9,000. So let's take a look at the Heritage. Over the Heritage, we've got 7.0 right here. And then this book sold as high as 7,200. So that's an increase of 1,800. This was back in September 2022. And then let's do one on the right. One sold for 7,170 back in May of 2017. And then let's do one more right here. And then one sold for $6,572.50 back in August 2017. Coming number 6, Detective Comics issue 31, created CGC as NG, No Gray, iconic early Batman book. And asking price was $12,497, but it's actually sold for $10,622. So let's go over to Heritage. Over Heritage, you have located 2. Both of them are NG right here. And this book sold was high at $5,760. So that's an increase of $4,862. This was back in May of 2025. And then we have another one. So in for $4,920 back in December 2025. Coming number 5, Amazing Spider-Man issue 3. This one came in 1963. grade CGC 8.5. First appearance on Dr. Octopus. Off-white the white pages. Asking price was $12,000, but it's actually sold for $11,500. So let's go over to Heritage. Heritage, we have an 8.5 right here, and then this book sold as high as 14,400. So that's a drop of 2,900. This is back in June of 2023, and then we have one 8.5 right here, so for $12,000 back in June of 2025. And then let's check one more. One sold for 10,800 back in September 2024. Come number 4, we have Fantastic Four issue 1, grade CZ 4.0. This one has asking and sold price of $13,000. So let's go over to Go Collect. Go Collect, we have 4.0 right here. And let's go over here. And then this book sold at $31,069. So that is a drop of $18,069. According to Go Collect, $13,000 of fair market value. And then this was the one that was just sold on eBay. And the low doing 1 year 12,810. So let's go over here. So the one that was sold for $31,069 was back in March of 2022. Come number 3, Incredible Hulk issue 181, grade CG 9.6, first Wolverine appearance. This one came out in 1974. The asking price was $17,500, but it's actually sold for $13,500. So let's go over to GPA. GPA, we have a 9.6 right here. And then let's go right here. And this was the one that was just sold on eBay. 9-day average, 12-month average, 2025 average, and then 2024 average. So definitely a lot of red arrows, and so not looking good for this book. And let's go down here. And this book sold as high $36,000. So that's a drop of $22,500. And look over here. And then 5 was reported in 2026, high being $15,000, and low being $13,000. And then the one that sold for $36,000 was back in 2022 right here. Coming number 2, Showcase issue 4, grade CZ 4.0. This one came in 1956. First and origin Silver Age Flash. Asking and sold price was $15,500. So let's go over to Go Collect. Go Collect, we have 4.0 right here. And then this book sold as high $22,195. So that's a decrease of $6,695. And this is the one that was just sold on eBay. Unfortunately, not too many data. The low being $12,600. Fair market value being $13,000. So let's go over here. And the one that sold for $22,195 was back in September 2022. Coming number 1 for this week, Amazing Fantasy 15, grade CZ 2.0. This one came out in 1962. Obviously, this is the first appearance of Spider-Man. So this is a blue label right here. The final auction price was $17,600 with 39 bids. However, you look over here, still positive feedback and still feedbacks there. And this book's also come from China. So, I mean, these want to spend this kind of money based on the feedback and come from China. So I'd rather pay a little bit more and buy it in the state. I'll actually buy it in person with that kind of money. But that's just me. So let's go over to Go Collect. Go Collect, however, they did not report the sold price yet on eBay. And the highest, this one was $38,400. So that's a drop of $20,800. And look right here, high being $14,640. I'm sorry, low, and high $23,000. Let's try to take a look at this book right here. And then the one that was sold for $38,400 was back in January 2022. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the content. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.